Hello, investors. It's Don Vandenbord, Chief Investment Officer with Revere Asset Management. Today is Thursday, April 25th, 5:07 p.m. Eastern Time, coming to you from St. Augustine Beach, Florida, with tonight's Revere Roundup Daily Market Insight video. Public service announcement this weekend on Sunday. Ted and Connor will debut their weekend walkthrough. It'll be a video out on YouTube, released Sunday afternoon, early Sunday evening will be everything that you need to know to get ready for the trading week next week. And something they've been looking forward to, and I know a lot of you have been too. So look for that on Sunday, the Ted and Connor Revere Roundup Weekend Walkthrough. All right, state of the market. We're in a mild correction. Check the trend gauge over here. We've got the red arrow for market leadership, yellow sub-hour pointing toward neutral. Short term, we've got all five of the major indexes below their 21-day moving average, but creeping up into them after hours. We'll talk about that as we progress through the video. All five of the major indexes below the medium-term 50-day moving average, all five above the long-term 200-day moving average. Remember, the market never gets into serious trouble unless we break below the 200-day moving average. That's where all bear markets occur, and you really have to spend some time under that level to get to the bear market down 20% off the highs, official, quote unquote, official level. So what happened today? Well, Meta after hours yesterday hit a bunch of leading tech stocks. So we're going to already gap down on that. But before that, we had Q1 projected GDP come out, and it was much lower than expected. But also in that report, a preliminary Q1 in PCE inflation number was higher than expected. And when you've got weak growth with higher inflation, that leads to the stagflation label being thrown around. That is the last thing that any economy on the earth wants to hear. And we really had an ugly gap down by the time we opened. The S&P 500 down 1.35%. The NASDAQ 100 opened down 1.8%. But a funny thing happened on the way to the graveyard. We put in the low within the first 30 minutes, had a strong rally off the lows, based into the close, and then after hours, Google and Microsoft up significantly. And that is juicing the futures. The NASDAQ 100 futures up over 1%. The S&P 500 up just a little bit less than that. Looking for if that carries, we'll have a higher open tomorrow. We're up over 1.5% from the lows, almost 2% off of the lows of the open today. That's follow through day material from a percentage standpoint, but we need the volume and we need leadership also. And leaders outperform today. We'll also discuss that as we go through the video. But we've got PCE inflation data for March before the open tomorrow. That could throw a monkey wrench into things, but all in all, this was a red day, but a positive day if you're a bull. Let's get to it. So gap down, rally off the lows, higher after hours. 21 over 21, I said leaders outperformed. This is the 21-21 list that we started the week with. It was up 0.3%. If you add the four stocks that we've purchased this week into that 21, we're actually up 0.93%. And that's the basis for the leaders outperformed moniker today that I just discussed. Big Seven, however, didn't have a chance today with Meta being down 10.6%. Big Seven down, a composite down 1.54%. RG8 down 0.19%. But another sign of leadership, FFTY was up almost 2/3% today. S&P 500, great job closing the 1.35% gap down, pairing it to a 0.46% lost, equal weight, only lost about half of that. NASDAQ 100 down 0.5%, equal weight just barely negative. Dow down 1%, mid caps down 0.5%, Russell 2000 small caps down 0.72. Global 60/40 stock bond down 0.25%. In-house GROTECTION slightly positive on the day as the small positions that we've been accumulating in potential leading names helped out the bottom line today. All right, let's get to the charts. We'll start off with the S&P 500 here, and you can see the big candle. It's a red candle, but we closed near the highs of the day, well off the lows, undercutting the 5,000 level, but getting back above it. Let's look at the 5-minute chart. You can see the gap down here within the first, this was at 10:05. We had a hammer off the lows, rallied up, tested the lows, and then a nice trend up, multi-hour, 3-hour trend up, topped at 50.53, and then a cup with high handle into the close. Positive day. And then if I bring up the SPY, you can see after hours up 0.87%. In fact, eclipsing the highs of Wednesday and coming right into the declining 21-day, right below it now, the declining 21-day moving average. That's where the rubber meets the road for the short term. All right, on to the NASDAQ 100. After hours up 1.32%, same action as the S&P, lower, closed back above the 100-day by the end of the day, above the highs of Wednesday and coming into the declining 21-day moving average. Not quite there yet, the S&P a bit closer, but definitely positive developments. But we need to get through that PCE hurdle and then see how leaders react or how the overall market reacts. But a good sign for bulls today, despite the red close. Let's go to the Dow. After 2 days hanging right around the 21-day moving average, it gave it up, albeit closing at the highs of the range, but back below the 100-day moving average. The recent relative strength is turning to relative weakness this week in the Dow. Mid-cap 400 index closed at the high, still below the declining 21. And the Russell 2000 small cap index under the 50, the 21, and the 100, but also at the highs of the day. That's not up as significantly after hours because of the big weights with Microsoft and Google. And those are also sparking, for example, Amazon higher after hours too, as a lot of it was data center related and more AI hardware related. In tomorrow night's video, I'm going to talk about, or actually be on the podcast tomorrow, we're going to talk about 17 AI hardware tickers. We might get it up to 20 by the time we produce the podcast tomorrow, but be on the lookout for that. That'll be out on YouTube Friday afternoon and in your email box Saturday morning. Let's go now to the VIX. The VIX was red most of the day, but came off late in the day as the market rallied and it got back below that 16 level. So the fear being wrung out of the market over the last 4 or 5 sessions. US dollar started out higher, came off as the day went along. So an outside negative reversal on the dollar, also a positive for stocks. Precious metals with a good day today. Here's gold bouncing off the 21, up 0.6%. Gold stocks up 3.6%. Big candle there. Again, bouncing off the 21. And silver. The GDX was led by, let me show this chart real quickly before I forget, Newmont Mining, which has been a laggard for a while, but a big upside surprise on Newmont, breaking out of a cup and handle. Up 12.5% on 136% average volume. This is thick enough for big institutions to get into. So good move there by Newmont, marking the GDX. Now silver. Silver up 0.64%, bouncing off the 21-day moving average. Bitcoin, IBIT ETF undercut but reclaiming the 50-day moving average by the close. On to bonds. Rates higher today, but they pulled back as the day went along. You can see the BND index, that's bond prices, cutting losses down 1/3% by the end of the day. The TLT, the long bond, same situation, cutting losses down 0.70%, still higher, making a higher high, on the yield, up 0.75%. That's on the long bond. And TNX, the 10-year higher high, also up 1.16%. All right, let's get to, that's our inter-asset correlation chart section of the video. Let's get to the tail of the tape now. You can pause this. I'll hit the highlights. Uh, Not updated here, but bears actually higher than bulls on the updated AAII stats that came out earlier today. So that, from a sentiment standpoint, is what a bull wants to see. Uh, News, I mentioned the Q1 GDP weak, 1.6% versus 2.5% expected. Q1 PCE hot, also not good. That's stagflation. Tomorrow, March PCE before the open. Day count, 2 days up with a 2-day consolidation, trying to break above that after hours. 1 day below the 8 EMA. After hours, we're back above it. 10th day below the 21-day EMA. After hours, we're up into it on the S&P 500. Sectors, semiconductors, AI DCHW, that is AI data center hardware, strong today. And again, this goes back to what Meta and Zuckerberg said in their press conference. Although Meta was down today, they've talked about how they're going to have CapEx spending into AI. And the AI data center names were very strong today. We added to VRT. I'll discuss that in a second. Restaurants on the back of a nice Chipotle earnings report up on the day. Got several upside alerts there in restaurants, and we added Kava to the portfolio. Gold, and silver stock strong. Oil's weak early, but reverse positive. The dollar strong early, but reverse negative. Also on the downside, software, regional banks, and solars. So we added GDX to the portfolio in addition to Kava and adding to VRT, as I mentioned, raising our adjusted beta from 0.52 to 0.61. Bottom line on the day, gap down on stagflation fears, rally off the lows, leader strong, and then after hours higher. We'll see how the market handles the news tomorrow of the Meta and Google earnings reports and how that trickles through to those data center names. That's a popular theme right now. It's volatile, but it's popular and there are a lot of names working. Doesn't mean it necessarily carries over to small caps, to the Dow, or even to the broad indexes. But big cap tech spending money is a good thing for the overall market and in particular that segment. So let's take a look at a couple of names. We'll start off with what we added to the portfolio today. Here's Kava, regaining the 21-day moving average with an outside positive reversal on very nice volume. VRT added to this after yesterday's earnings, closing in the low of the range of the day, breaking back above that former high of 88.69. 132% average volume, up 6.83% on the day, and up another 4%. Wow, is that right? Let me check that. Yeah, up another 4% after hours today. So good stuff there. And note the volume. And this is the theme to focus on. So VRT and then GDX, I already showed that chart. So that's what we adjusted on the portfolio. A couple of other data center leaders. Let's talk about them. NVIDIA had a nice day today. It's into the declining 21 after hours, up 3.71%. SMCI, nasty shakeout last week, got us out of the stock, back up to 787 and up another 2.5% after hours. Dell, another AI data center stock with a nice day, reclaiming the 21-day moving average. Some other restaurants, let's show CMG. Can't wait for this to split so we can get into the portfolios. At over $3,100, over half of the people in the portfolio couldn't own it. So this 50-for-1 split that it has coming up, still 2 months away, but we'll revisit it after that. But this sparked such names as Texas Roadhouse, off of the lows, closing right at its pivot in the flat base. Kava, we already showed. Wing with a good day, undercutting and reclaiming the 21-day moving average. So two themes strong today: restaurants and AI data center hardware. What other charts do we want to show here? How about the rest of the portfolio that we own? Spotify with a nice bounce off the 50-day moving average. First Solar down today, but undercutting and reclaiming the 21-day moving average. CEG, this is another data center hardware name, bouncing off the 21-day moving average. Those are the four that we own coming into today. That's CEG, First Solar, Spot, and VRT. Added Kava, added GDX, and added to VRT today. And then we've got index exposure as well as IBIT exposure. What other names stood out today? PDG, a aerospace and defense name, making a higher high. They have earnings in 2.5 weeks. Let's see, ALAB. This is a another data center semiconductor name. Nice move off the lows, reclaiming the 21-day moving average as it consolidates in an IPO base. And one more, FCX, which initially was down on earnings yesterday. Nice reclaim of the 21-day moving average on slightly above average volume today, as copper also had a good day, and a lot of copper needed for these AI data center build outs as well. That's going to wrap it. As always, like to hear from you. We go under the hood here at Revere. You don't just listen to what the headline was on the way home that said the Dow was down 375 points and just leave it as that. A much better picture painted under the surface and after hours, and we'll see how that follows through to the market tomorrow. Like to reach out to me. I always love to hear from you. Don at revereasset.com. The phone's 855-REAL-WEALTH. That's 855-732-5932. If you're interested in becoming a client, my partner Dan Stewart is the guy. Dan at revereasset.com. Our flagship portfolio, GROTECTION, serves a dual purpose, dual mandate. Grow assets during uptrends, back off as things start going sideways, protect assets during downtrends. We key on moving averages and support and resistance levels. And that's how we run things here at Revere. There's no reason for you. I got into a discussion with a guy on Twitter who's a pie chart guy, was quite happy that one of his clients would have drawn down from 1.7 million to 700,000 because 20 years later his portfolio was higher. You really think that a guy would sit there and allow his portfolio to go from 1.7 to 700,000 and anybody would be okay with that? That's just nonsense. And you don't deal with that when you're here at Revere, because we follow what the market is telling us, not some dumb formula based on historical numbers that the market will always come back. And then if it doesn't come back, they'll tell you, well, we've got bigger things to worry about than your assets if the market never comes back. Forget that nonsense. We're passionate about it because we've seen friends and families, retirements get destroyed by the unconscious incompetence or willful ignorance of asset managers that didn't know what the hell they were doing, protecting the downside. And with that, I'll wrap it for Thursday, April 25th. This is Don Vandenbord with Revere Asset Management, telling it like it is. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.